So, I've been making a lot of clown videos recently, I guess. Well, let's make another one. Hello everyone, and today I'm going to be doing a review of one of my most anticipated films of the year, and well, I'm doing a review of It Chapter 2. And I've got a lot to say about this film, some good, quite a few bad, but anyway, let's get into the video. So I'm going to start off with complaints first. One of the biggest complaints I have with the film is going to involve a lot of spoilers. I'm going to put that in the title. There are going to be spoilers in this review, so if you haven't seen the film, go watch it, but if you don't really care about spoilers, watch the video, I guess. But yeah, its final form. Pennywise's final form is the form of like the form of a spider, yet the look and design of a clown. Like a big clown head with a spider clown body and arm things. It just looks weird, but my problem with it is it makes no sense, because it came to Earth millions and millions and millions of years ago, and it took the form of a clown because it just saw like a clown somewhere and thought, I like that look, so I'm just going to take it for my own. Its main look isn't a fucking clown, it's something else. It's much more different. And sorry language there, but yeah, that's not its main form that they're showing the film, and that's really disappointing now, because we're not really gonna know what its actual form is. That's not what it's supposed to look like. And plus, as a matter of fact, it doesn't even look cool. The CGI looks god awful. Looks like a Dark Souls boss or something. It just looks awful. Another thing I want to point out really is there's this weird story side plot involving Richie and this whole thing. They were heavily implying that in the film that he's gay for Eddie, which in my opinion doesn't really make a lot of sense, because apparently in the book he was married about 3 times, and Eddie's also married to a woman that looks a lot like his mother, and that's actually sort of creepy. But anyway, yeah. And why Eddie of all people? Even if Richie was gay, which I don't really know if he is or not, but whatever. Even if he was gay, why would it be gay for Eddie of all people? In my opinion, if he would be in love with any male character, it'd have to be Stan. Like, he went to his bar mitzvah and like they were both really great friends together. And also, I did this whole subplot about Richie being gay, and why Richie of all characters to do it with? Of all the characters to be gay, probably, yeah, Eddie would be one of them, but he isn't. And they tried to say that they're forcing, that they're trying to get diverse characters into the film. That makes no sense, because the film literally opens up with a gay couple being killed. Well, one of them dies anyway. And I know they didn't just add the characters in just to be there and die. That did happen in the original book. The hate crime happened at the beginning of the book. I know that, but if you're trying to just, be woke or whatever and add the gay character into it, then you've already got him, so why just add this useless subplot to a character where this subplot really does not fit him at all? It just doesn't really make sense to me in the slightest. And one final thing that I want to mention is, some of the effects in this film are so terrible to the point where it was hilarious, honestly. Some of the scenes were so funny, the CGI looks so crap and so terrible to the point where it just looks hilarious. It looked like a Scooby-Doo episode. And now that I think about it, that's what this whole film is. It's just a giant, R-rated episode of Goosebumps. And honestly, I'm actually going to say that I like that. And I'm going to get to that later on about the things that I like about the film. And I just need to get one final thing off what I have to say, really. Some scenes in the film, I don't know if they were trying to be funny or they were trying to be scary or whatever, but they just ended up looking stupid. For example, there's a scene where Henry Bowers sneaks into this house or apartment where the grown-up losers are staying, and Henry Bowers breaks into this building and attacks Eddie whilst he's in a bathroom cleaning himself off after he went to the pharmacist. And so Henry attacks him and stabs him in the cheek and leaves the knife in there. And this weird scene happens where they all just look at each other with goofy faces and chuckling sort of. And Eddie just goes into the shower, into the bathtub, rips the knife out and stabs Henry in the stomach, and Henry just runs away. And escaping outside gives Ben this really weird look and just rips the knife out of him and runs away. And I can't tell if that was supposed to be scary or funny, and if it was funny, then what's the point? Because that's kind of Richie's job. He's supposed to be the comic relief for the film. So why add this comedy that makes no sense to the plot at all? Another thing happens later on where it involves the losers as they grow up trying to defeat Pennywise. After they do the ritual, sure if that didn't work, they try to... So basically, Eddie gets really injured and he dies there and everyone's sad. And to defeat Pennywise, what they do is they just insult it by calling it all these things like clown and, insulting it and stuff. And it's just so stupid. Like, it shrinks. It shrinks and turns into this weird looking baby with small arms. It looks like about the Ripley clones from Alien Resurrection or like an effect from Son of the Mask. It just looks awful and it's not scary in the slightest. It just looks hilarious. Everyone in the cinema was laughing their heads off at this one scene that was supposed to be scary or dramatic or whatever. I don't really know at this point. The film's tone's all over the place to the point where I actually kind of call it a horror comedy in some places, because now that I've talked about the bad, let's get onto the good, and I want to get the main reason why I actually sort of like this film and I would recommend it to some people in the next segment. So, talking about the good in this film, I want to say when me and my dad went to go see this, and because we're both fit fans, and we left the cinema and we were just saying, oh, the film's terrible, it's fessing about and all that. When really, now that I had time to think about it, and I looked at some reviews, I looked at all these videos and stuff, and I think they were trying to go for a Sam Raimi Evil Dead 2 or Nightmare on Elm Street 3 sort of vibe, with something that's not exactly scary, it's just supposed to be entertaining. Like, honestly, I would watch It Chapter 2 again, honestly, if I had the chance to. I would watch it again because it wasn't the best film, it was terrible for the wrong reasons, but I really liked the film and I would watch it again because, I'm going to say, I do like the film. It's not a good film at all, but I had a good time watching it. I don't regret seeing it at all. I really enjoyed watching the film because it sort of gave me a very Sam Raimi, Wes Craven vibe to it, where it's so ridiculous and absurd to the point where it's actually kind of enjoyable to watch. And people are saying like, how is it supposed to be a comedy when people don't realise that the original miniseries from the early 90s, that's kind of corny and really sort of, I'm not saying it's outdated or anything, but it's not as scary as people remember it, mainly because they've seen it as like young children. And if you look back at it, Tim Curry, like, he ain't exactly the most terrifying of people. In some scenes is downright hilarious, and some of the effects and the fact that almost all the actors ham up their lines in the original, like with Beverly saying, why is it so mean, in such like a theatrical sort of like, oh, what's the guy's name again? Give me a second. Yeah, like Herbert West from Reanimator, where they sort of ham it up to the point where you can tell these actors are having really good, they're having fun playing this role, and why would you want to really be in a film that's dead serious? And like, that's really dead serious to the point where it's not enjoyable to be on set and do your job. And even if you think about it, it's not exactly the most serious or plots ever. It's about people fighting this alien from space that looks like a clown and eats children. Honestly, like, how can you take that so seriously? Maybe King did it in the book where he made it much more serious. And I haven't read the book. I've only read like 2 pages, and and the pages just explain Georgie's shoes in vivid detail. But overall, I'm gonna say, if you're in the right mood for some schlock, it's a popcorn horror film. It's basically Killer Clowns from Outer Space, but by Stephen King. And honestly, if you're in the mood for some schlock, or you're just trying to like do like an It marathon after you watch the original and the first reboot, I would suggest give it a watch. I'm gonna give it a 6.5 out of 10. Ain't the greatest film of all time, ain't the best film of all time. In my opinion, when it's good, it's really good, but when it's bad, it's extremely bad. And overall, I'd recommend it to some people. So that was my review for It Chapter 2. If you have any questions for me, leave them down in the comments below. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.